Hi everyone, I'm Vladislav Novikov, and joining me again is Andriy Dobriansky, Director of Communication at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Andriy, hello.
Hi, good to be back.
So, Trump is now going after the Fed. In his sights, Lisa Cook and a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And what's her big crime? Allegedly taking out a mortgage on a second home and listing it as her primary residence. Wow. Talk about micromanagement. Trump has outdone himself this time. He caught the culprit red handed. And seriously, how does he manage to do it all?
Well, as far as the Federal Reserve, it's clear that President Trump has had a rhetorical war, and hopefully he would like to win over the Central Bank of the United States, which has obviously been traditionally separate from the federal government, as most central banks are in the world, trying to make sure that the world understands that the Central Bank of the United States, the Fed, tries to keep the dollar reserve as something that the rest of the world can look at. Unfortunately, President Trump wants it to be his personal plaything, something responding to his direct requests, such as his demand that interest rates be lowered in the United States, inflation be damned. And he has taken two tactics on that. One is attacking the chairman himself. He wants the chairman to resign. He initiated some sort of investigation by appointing members of a board that oversees the renovation of the Federal Reserve building to see if there was any mismanagement there. After that went away because Americans discovered that American taxpayers don't pay for that renovation, so there was less controversy. Secondly, he started looking into the backgrounds of other members of the board of the Federal Reserve, including Lisa Cook, and seems to be doing the same thing that he accused prosecutors of doing against him when he wasn't president, which is looking over all of his financial records. This, according to his own lawyers, it was a crime, if anything were to happen, a crime without a victim, since these are basically bureaucratic misdemeanors. If anything was filed incorrectly for her mortgage, but in addition to being part of his attack against the Federal Reserve and its independence, it's also come into view politically as yet another attack on a African American woman in the United States. He has repeatedly gone after African American women leaders, whether they're elected leaders or people in positions of power, and whether that's for a good cause or not, it's come to now be understood by voters in the United States that he has a personal problem, or it seems as if there's a personal problem with these people of this background. And I've been on not one, not two, but several focus group discussions where I'm hearing from people that both Americans and people outside of America are noticing this tendency of his to attack people simply because of who they are.
Mhm. That was interesting. But Andrei, when I read this news about like Lisa Cook and Fat, I think I already saw this, but where? And I think I saw this in Russia when when Putin gets media, police, oligarchs, when Putin get all this stuff for himself because he dictator, and it's not same.
It is. It's not the way that we have done things prior to President Trump. He is in the first administration, 2016 through 2020. Everybody was complaining about him breaking the norms. So not things that are actual law, but he was breaking with tradition. And in some instances, that took years to do. Here, he has begun his administration by not only breaking norms, but he's broken numerous laws. In not least of which is the fact that he hasn't gone through with the sale of TikTok, which was mandated by Congress. He has banned the acceptance of asylum seekers on American territory, another law, and not only international law but U.S. federal law. So there are a number of things he is breaking law-wise, and here when he's trying to as he issued on social media, on his Truth Social, he put out a letter that he is firing this member of the Federal Reserve Board. There's no authority to do that. So he's trying to break the law yet again. And so that maybe brings the parallel with authoritarian leaders, like you mentioned. They do not care about the law. I think most notably, if we want to talk about Ukraine and Trump's relation to Ukraine, his advisors and President Trump are very confused why the president of Ukraine doesn't very easily negotiate about the borders of Ukraine, whereas most leaders understand that they take an oath to serve the Constitution, and the Constitution tells us what Ukraine is, what isn't, not a president. And here in the United States, President Trump doesn't seem to be doing the same thing, which is he is not serving the Constitution. He takes an oath to uphold the Constitution, and here he thinks that the laws should serve him as opposed to the other way around.
But we can talk about the first step of dictator, because Putin looks like a big dictator and Trump looks like a little baby dictator. He don't know what he need to do, but he look at Putin and he think maybe maybe I need to push or attack this side or this side, and we look what's going on in the next step. For me, very clearly, this case about Fed, it's clearly attack, and what a reason. We don't have a normal logic reason, no. And just yesterday, Trump said he doesn't like dictators, and that he's not dictator himself. But cases like the one with Lisa Cook are sparking outrage among politicians, and many are pointing to these authoritarian notes.
Right. Well, even more so than the outrage, it's the actual effect on the economy. This morning, we did not see as badly a reaction by the stock market as we did when President Trump was threatening the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So there was only a slight dip in the stock market. But almost immediately after President Trump put out that Truth Social about Lisa Cook, that he demands that she be fired, we saw a drastic change in the valuation of the dollar. And again, one of the main responsibilities of the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, is maintaining the value of the dollar as to where it's best, not just for the United States, but the world in general. And so I think it's those effects, much like when the president is deploying troops to federal cities, and seeing the fact that people don't want to go out to restaurants anymore because they're not comfortable with seeing armed troops everywhere. This is the after effect. It's not just the what we feel is a norm or what we feel is a law broken. I think the economic after effects are going to be the most important one. And here with the Federal Reserve, we're talking about devaluation of the dollar.
Okay, I have one more interesting question. By the way, yesterday reporters noticed something odd on the skin on Trump's right hand. Looked darker, almost black. And as someone who's watched Pirates of the Caribbean and know what the black mark means, my mind went straight to wait a second. He shook hand with Putin and must be it. So why be surprised? But on a serious note, there are reasons to think something might actually be wrong with Trump's health, or is it really just from that handshake with Putin?
Well, more so than the hands, and that has been an issue since the beginning of this administration. Early in March, we already saw severe bruising on his hands, and what you're saying is that we see makeup covering these black marks, but we can see a little bit underneath it. It's a dark hand, and that has been happening regularly. More so, though, we are seeing the swelling of his lower legs and ankles, specifically to the fact to the point where his doctor reported that walking has become painful for President Trump. Even though this is a person who loves going on the golf course every day, if he could, we just know that at a certain point, at a certain age, he's becoming less mobile, less able to walk around. And not only that, we also see a lot of his mental slips. So yesterday, he couldn't remember the names of several governors that he had spoken with. We've heard him mistake historical facts regularly, but they're becoming more and more often. So it's physical and mental that this job has taken a toll, as we've seen other presidents age very rapidly in the job, but it seems to be taking a toll this time. And of course, we should realize when he took the oath of office in January at his inauguration, he was the oldest person to ever do that, older than even when Biden took the inauguration.
Mhm. And one more thing, Trump also said Zelensky-Putin meeting depends on them alone. So is Trump now just a spectator watching the match?
Well, nothing should have been done in August anyway. Everybody's on vacation in Washington. There's no senators, no congressmen, and even we had Georgia Maloney had to fly and cancel her vacation. Finland, the President Stubb, Chancellor Merz, all these people were on vacation, and all of a sudden President Trump called for a meeting, and so this wasn't the optimal time. But President Trump doesn't take long vacations himself. He goes golfing every weekend, but he doesn't spend 2 weeks in Rome or France. So we have this situation where things were done by President Trump. The rest of the world was ready to sit down to work with him, but it seems as if this was just some kind of distraction for President Trump, because he's very quickly forgotten about this, or at least not brought himself to work on it even further. I think, though, we're going to see after the vacations finish, senators and congressmen come back next week, and once September comes and the Congress comes back, we know there's at least 3 pieces of legislation about Ukraine that many members of Congress want to have happen, whether it's the sanctions, whether it's additional aid for Ukraine, and now we'll go back to President Trump having to do something, because if he doesn't do something, Congress will vote something. So we'll see if he tries to do another wait 2 more weeks, or whether he actually puts in sanctions. Because of that factory that was bombed in Mukachu, the United States is going to it has to do something, because everybody keeps asking, what is the response?
Yeah, it's true. But we have one more interesting meeting. I mean, I talk about Putin and Xi Jinping are meeting very soon. What do you think that meeting will really be about?
It'll be whatever Xi Jinping tells Putin to do. We know that the enemy's economy is faltering. It'll be down to 0% growth for their GDP by the end of the year, and frankly, without the support of China or additional North Korean soldiers or workers, it's going to be very hard for Russia to do anything. In which case, Russia has no voice at this meeting. Russia simply is going to China to beg for additional resources. We know that also China has stated publicly they don't want to see Russia lose, but that doesn't mean that they want them to win. So if anything, China will keep on doing what it's been doing to annoy the West, annoy the NATO alliance, annoy the United States, have us in the West spend resources in helping Ukraine, never quite winning. And in the end, China gets more powerful. China gets more allies. China gets more artillery, more ammunition pre-positioned in case they want to do something with Taiwan in the coming future.
Okay, about Moscow sanction and Trump, because Trump says targeted sanction on Moscow are working. He even mentioned India and China. Do you think they're really effective?
The targeted sanctions haven't come in really on India. They've been announced. We haven't seen that they have actually come into effect. A lot of these will probably be worked out in court also. President Trump has announced an enormous worldwide regime of tariffs that stand against the Constitution. Now, there are specific provisions in the law that allow the president to put tariffs and sanctions on enemies, especially enemies that are helping an enemy, so the secondary sanctions. However, I think even in the situation of India, this is something that India will probably take the United States to court if they ever come to happen. And as my understanding that they were only announced, but they never came into actual effect. It's an announcement waiting for the effective tariffs to happen against India.
If this sanction not effective, why Trump using this? Because all American channel says Trump don't do nothing.
I think that's part of it, and I think it's going to continue to be nothing if he keeps saying that we have to wait 2 more weeks for another ultimatum. We saw really nothing in August when in July he announced that there would be an ultimatum when he was sitting with Mark Rutte in the White House, and he was upset about what Russia was doing. That he gave him 50 days, and then that was shortened to 2 weeks at the beginning of August, and we saw nothing. We saw the summit, and nothing happened out of the summit. So it seems as if President Putin did the same exact thing he did in May when the Istanbul summit was announced. Instead of the sanctions coming down from the coalition of the willing, the coalition of the willing announced that they would have sanctions on Russia immediately. President Trump turned to President Zelensky and Putin and said, "You should meet in Istanbul," and then at the end, nothing happened.
So thank you, Andriy. It was great hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Until next time.
Yeah, see you next time.